So, what do you guys do in STEM class?
So I do kindergarten through fifth grade for STEM, and this year we've kind of switched gears a little bit, and we do all of our lessons through PBLs, which are problem-based learning, project-based learning, or place-based learning. So we usually have multiple tasks that we complete throughout that, and each task has to have engineering design process as we go through. So that's how we are going about all the classes for kindergarten through fifth grade.
Okay. Why do you enjoy teaching STEM? What's your favorite thing about it?
Right now my favorite thing about STEM is that it's not scripted. There's no one telling me what I have to teach. It's also guided by student interest and what they find interesting, which I absolutely love that they're guiding that. And I love also being able to collaborate with the other teachers and find out what they need as far as filling gaps in science and math standards.
Okay, what's your favorite thing that you've either created or taught students?
One of the favorite things I've done this year has been the Carnival PBL with fifth grade. We had a whole lot of different subjects. It was cross-curricular, and they were able to find out how difficult it was to be able to plan an event. And we are just now finishing that up. We started that the very first day of school, and we just finished that this week. They're making their presentations about it. And the favorite thing in that PBL for me was their advertisements and being able to see their creativity.
I really like STEM because we do a lot of hands-on activities and projects. Our current project is our PBL where we have to plan our carnival. And basically you have to figure out all your prices and everything that you need for carnival, like our Creek Fest. And I really like STEM because I just think it's really fun because she lets us do so many different things.
My name is John Dutton, and I'm the music teacher at Philadelphia, but I also teach 7th and 8th grade STEM classes.
Okay. What does every day in STEM look like?
Well, I give a task to complete and then give a list of supplies and a stack of things to use, and students are expected to create something to solve the problem that I've given them. Recently we did bridges, and so students had to build a pulley bridge across a 2-foot gap with the given supplies.
All right, perfect. Do you think STEM is important?
I think STEM is important because all jobs require some technical knowledge of how to problem solve and put things together, and employers like somebody who can figure things out and solve a problem.
Perfect. What is your favorite part about teaching STEM?
My favorite part about teaching STEM is seeing how students create a solution to a problem in new and different ways that I didn't think of or others in the class didn't think of.
We're here with Preston from STEM. Preston, can you please tell us what you do in STEM? This is a trebuchet, and it's designed to launch an object. Okay, thank you. Many different jobs in STEM, some of which include computer science, chemistry, or biology, which can lead to a medical field, but the most popular one is engineering. There are many different types of engineering as well. Some include civil engineering, mechanical, aerospace, electrical, and more. A lot of these jobs end up making six figures, or $100,000. They're often high-paying jobs. The schooling that goes into STEM jobs usually includes 4-year college degrees or bachelor degrees.
Title is an automation engineer and also an advanced specialist is really what they call us here at Denso. Work for Denso in Maryville, and mostly what we do is oversee the SCADA system, and that's SCADA, which is Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition, which is most of our controls for the facility, like air handler units and all of the electrical support, cooling for, the process equipment and that sort of thing. If you saw my resume or something, I didn't send it, but that's what I went into originally, was civil engineering.
Okay.
And I got an associate's in that. And from there, I went to MTSU and went into aerospace and got a bachelor's in aerospace. Both of those, so civil, I never really did anything with it other than, build a house at home. That came into play, I guess, with project management and that sort of thing. With aerospace, I really enjoyed that, but unfortunately, the field is very stressful and it doesn't pay that well. At least that's what I found. If you need to be really dedicated to airplanes and aircraft and have an interest in aerospace, where I thought I was getting into it to make a little bit of money, and that was a mistake. For me, it was, if somebody really loves aircraft, that's the thing to do. But I would say that because I had that degree, it allowed me to step into things and further my career that I never would have been able to if I had not. As I kind of mentioned, I think that school is really the best way, and then getting your hands dirty and getting out there and doing the work also.
I work for Pellissippi State Community College. I work in their civil engineering department and the NES, which is Engineering Science Department. I'm a lab technician, which means I set up the hands-on labs and experiments they do for soils, aggregates, concrete, building materials. And then on the ENS side, it's all theory-based to where it's like rotational inertia. And it's basically a elementary class to get into the engineering. It's the first one you'll take if you want to be an engineer. For me and my job, I do, like I said, I set up the physical experiments, which they call them labs, but it's basically what it is. The students have got a criteria sheet, and then we use products or we use materials, and then they have to figure out, one, how to do that in industry using the STEM they learn here. Either like mixing materials, or on the other side of it, I should back up. There's two different ways of doing it. We've got a very hands-on pathway to where they're actually learning, and they will be leaving here into industry. And then the other side is a UT or Austin P or any technical school, like a big university. They'll be going in there with their background in engineering, where they will be doing a lot of their preliminary math and sciences. So that's what I do every day. Set up. It could be as simple as a ball rolling down a plane, or it could be, how much force does it take to stop something, something like that. If they do all kinds of that. And we do a lot of 3D printing. So that is another thing that we do. Side, I've got an associate's in civil engineering science. Which means I can work for a surveyor, I can work for a certified engineer, a PE, to do roads, houses, anything commercial, a lot of CAD-based, SketchUp, stuff like that. That's what my actual degree's in. And then when that led me into this job from TDOT, I used to work for TDOT, and we did road construction and road maintenance, which uses a lot of civil. As far as the grading processes and stuff like that. I did that for 15 years. I came here to take the school so I could get promoted at TDOT, and then it turned out that they needed me to stay here. So then I took this job. So that's how I came to be. Now more than ever, it's a gateway to so many different careers. The STEM that you're learning when you're doing the little kits or when you're doing whatever, the hands-on stuff, directly relates to so much on-hand stuff you're going to be doing in life. Dive into it. You can't go wrong with education. So if you like something, like I said, 3D printing, or you like using a particular piece of machinery, or you want to do the little, what they call Adrenos and the Raspberry Pi kits and all that, just do it. you can't break anything. If you do, that's how you.
We have Miss Moorfield here this morning to be talking about STEM. Can you introduce yourself and tell us what you do in the STEM world?
Yes, so I'm Miss Moorfield. I'm Coach Moorfield or Mr. Moorfield's wife, and I currently work at Loudon High School in the chemistry classroom. So right now I teach physical science, and then I have Honors Chem 1 and Honors Chem 2. So when you guys get to high school, let's hope that I'm still there and that I still look like I'm in my 20s. And then I used to work at Oak Ridge Lab. So some people know it as Oak Ridge Laboratory or Y12. There's 2 different campuses. So I was at Oak Ridge Laboratory, and they use a lot of acronyms. So I worked in this really big, long acronym, but we call it REDC and TWMD. So it stands for Radiochemical Engineering Development Center and Transportation and Waste Management Division. So I was kind of like the in-between of those 2 groups. So all of like the really scary, like hazardous waste and all of the symbols that you see whenever you see transfer trucks on the road. So I was responsible for making sure that all of that really scary waste where people are up in their hazmat suits and the detectors are beeping, I was responsible for making sure that that was sampled correctly and that we disposed of that correctly across the United States so that nobody that was just a civilian was exposed to where they could get sick. That's pretty much the friendly version of how we can explain that. Yeah, the not so secretive version of how we can explain that.
That's really cool. So what training or schooling did you have to go through?
So I graduated from Loudon High School in, let's not talk about the year, it was a long time ago. And then I went to Lee University, so it's about an hour away in Cleveland. And at Lee, I studied chemistry, and then I actually added on a teaching licensure as a just in case. So I had 4.5 years of schooling there. And then after that, I had an internship at Oak Ridge Lab. I did some research my junior and senior year at Lee. And then during my internship, I had one while I was in college, and then I had one right after I graduated college. And from there, I worked with a subcontractor. So there's a lot of different ways that you can work at the lab. I got my foot in the door under a subcontractor as an environmental scientist, and then I actually got hired on at the lab. And then once I was at the lab, you have a million different things for training depending on what you're doing. So I actually had RadCon training, which is where you get in the fancy hazmat suits and you learn all of what the signals and the beeping and the alarms and the colors and stuff mean if you're in a facility and something goes off. And then I actually had some transportation training, so we know what fancy stickers to apply for the road. Those would have been the ones that most applied to what I was doing. There were other simple trainings that I did, but those were the big ones.
Why do you think it's important to study STEM, and why do you think STEM is important?
So my gut is just, it's a very basic answer, but I think that if you look at all of the ways that we're advancing as a society, a lot of those careers are built on STEM. A lot of people just think that STEM is kind of like people in a lab or, a rocket scientist or something kind of crazy. But really STEM is a lot of the basics that you look at. Like if you want to build a building, what do you need? You need an engineer. How do we build the school? How do you add on to the school without an engineer?